down, and in other parts, if 9 goes down, I'm happy. You know, if 12s are down already and 9 is halfway, like I'm not going to keep waiting for the 12 up there to go down, because I know that overall it's enough for that. So like 10 and a half is what I'm aiming for. Alright, so this is a pumpkin that I already made a couple days ago. I went back and kind of cleaned up the, actually I'm going to show that first. So here's one, it's just the ball, and I haven't moved yet. You can see the hole in the bottom. If I wanted to make this into a bird now, I would just flop it on its side. Put the beak here, and no feathers there. But for that, I would want to make the thing itself a little more oval, maybe not so squat. And now again, like this little hole here is going to let out enough air for it to not quite get away.
So it's leather hard at this point, is that basically what you're working on?
Yeah, I normally would like it to be a little bit softer, just a little softer. And I'm a big fan of just using what you have in your studio, so like I haven't gone out and bought any special tools for anything like, what can I use for this? Grab something and go for it. So this was a rib that I think my husband had that didn't get used for anything else, but there it was.
Is he also a potter?
Yes and no. He also has a degree from ECU, bachelor's degree in ceramics. But he's worked for Starbucks now for almost 17 years as the overall building manager. So by the time he gets home, he's usually too tired to go back to school and do anything. All right, and this is hard enough right now where I would go back and just sort of gently, usually just use my fingers to get rid of the sharp edges. As little sponges as possible. They just always bring out the redness from the clay. And when you're wood firing, it's nice to have that really fine layer of clay that you get on it when you use the rib instead of the pretty surface. So this one is a stem. So my first experience was in undergrad in Estonia, and then at ECU they had a train kiln, or like a John Healy, train coffee kiln. And then I hired David Stempley quite a bit, because so David and Nancy, Fred Johnston, I don't know if you know him, Fred and Carol, and Dwight Holland back in the day, they all came to Estonia and built the first large-scale Onadama kiln in Estonia. I was finishing up my studies. So I had already been to ECU as an exchange student, went back to Estonia to finish my undergrad, then a group of potters from Seagrove came to build the kiln. I was there as a student doing grunt work. And the very first day that they were coming, so it's like in this old manor house, and they were walking down these massive steps, and we were downstairs, and I said, "Hey y'all," and they were like, "What?" In Estonia, somebody said, "Y'all." And so they realized I'd been to North Carolina. And so when I came back and went to ECU as a grad student, I kept in touch with David, and I would go and occasionally fire with him. And back then, he was still firing his old kiln, the big massive one that you have to apply on top of to salt, and then all the fumes would come back in your face. So I got fired out a few times with him. And then when we were finishing studies, my current husband and I, then Nancy at the time had just started Starbucks. So she was like, oh, so what are you guys doing when you graduate? And we were like, we have no idea. You know, 2 little kids, we gotta find something to do and feed them. And she was like, well, Dr. has just started making clay and we need to do interns. Oh, I know, I'll give it we'll give it a try for 6 months. Here we still are, 17 some years later. So yeah, at some point we were like, well, I want to kill him. When we first got to Starbucks after the internship, I built a organic garden there and did a lot of elementary and middle school kids teaching like composting and how to start seeds, and I ran a CSA and tried to get local farmers out there selling their stuff. And so I grew up on a farm, so I was doing something I knew a little bit about, but I felt complete failure. I was just thinking the whole time. It was so uncomfortable. And I was like, I spent like most of my life pursuing this thing, and now I'm like giving it up to like work with farmers. Like I could have stayed at home and helped my dad farm. Why did I come all the way like across the world? So it was kind of a moment of, okay, I got to get back in play. And so I quit and built a kiln and started doing this, and then it took me 10 years to be able to pay myself. So there was that. So like really, if you want to be a potter, like a working potter, maybe really kind of have to be foolish enough, I think, have enough faith in yourself and in the process, and just believe that at some point, it's going to all come to something. And it's still, it's not like anybody can get rich in a potter. Like you can at least be your own boss and make your own hours and make what you want.
How old are your kids now?
So my daughter is 26 and my son is 23. He's really young when I started.
Did they help you out at all with the firings and all that? Or?
They used to, a little bit like wood prep and things like that, but they both went to school in Estonia, college, because they're also Estonian citizens, and in Estonia education is free if you can speak the language and go through the application process and all of that to be accepted. So my daughter got a free education in animation, and then the school hired her immediately, and then now she's doing her master's in animation in the same school. And my son didn't want to go at first. He was like, no, I'm staying in North Carolina. But okay, well, the only thing we can afford is rent a community college, see what's available there, if anything interests you. And he really wanted to be a music producer at that time. Well, all he saw there was like physical therapy and different things. And so I just sat down with him one day at the computer. I said, well, look at this school in Estonia, like Baltic Film and Media School. It's not like you're not going to learn to be a producer, but you probably have a studio with sound equipment. So he's like, I could see his gears turning in his head for the first time. Like, oh, maybe. And his sister was already there. And so he went, and he was in an international group, which was in English, so he didn't have to learn that language, still hasn't. And we had to pay for it, but it was like a community college price for university education. And like we were able to cover his living costs and his school and all of that for a fraction of the cost that we living here. So now they're both there. Staying there. Not planning to go back. It's been a while since I've been on that long. So the problem with these long ones is that now it has to fit in the kiln. Not at every space that you're using. So I've started making just like a dinky little steps now to get more stuff in the kiln. Yeah, true, but it's just, so when I look at my kiln, it's super tight. Like, we make earring parts and buttons and like ornaments and everything. Like, if you have a bowl, you put stuff under the bowl. Like, the kiln, you know, the kiln fires better the tighter it is, and also like you fire, I mean, you put in so much effort into it, so you might as well get it out of it when you can. So it just bothers me to see all this empty space here next to there's another pumpkin and there's like nothing here. Okay, so this looks like it used to be a cat. Again, I've already made that hole in the bottom. And so whenever I'm making things, I'm trying to get more from doing less, I guess. So the fewer things you can do to kind of get the gesture, get like something across that. So this is the front of the cat. These are the front legs. I'm not going to do anything back here because now I can go back after it's done. I can go back, cover it with wax, and then do Mishima technique and draw the back legs, draw some more details, maybe put a, I don't know, some little dots or something on it. So I don't have to like necessarily sculpt it all the way. I discovered that the end of this tool has a nice little hole in it, so I can make little toes. I mean, how much more do we need? So this is ukulele now. I don't know who here has used Starbucks clay. Yeah, what do you think? Like it? I know, it's like once you had Starbucks clay, you're gonna know that. It's just so plastic, has so much character.
And it's always like very, very soft in the back when we cut it. You don't have to worry about hard. It's always super soft.
So I'm just eyeballing, making ears. It's also delicious.
Do you ever make dogs?
A few times. I've actually made dogs as a special order when somebody comes and like, this is my breed of dog. So that's the thing with dog. Like, cat is a cat. Like, pretty much generic. You know, skinnier, fatter, longer tail, bigger ears, but a dog, like, there's specific breeds and they're so different. And it's so hard to make a generic dog, right?
I was also wondering, does your dog really model?
Yes. So we have a cutest dog. She's probably depressed in bed right now, waiting for me to come home. She's just like, my husband's at home, but she won't go and interact with him unless she wants to. But she's a rescue dog. She's a Yorkie mix, we were told. Scruffy, just really cute. And so Kate Waltman, who's a dog trainer, and whose dog is an actor, like really knows all kinds of tricks, and they often go to do commercial shoots and things like that. So she was like, actually, that's how we got Mia. Kate wanted a little dog that they can send to commercial shoots. So she sent me a picture of me. I was like, this dog is available right now if you're looking for a dog. And sure enough, she's actually trainable. So she took the basic dog class and learned a few tricks, and now every time there's a commercial shoot, we have to learn something new, usually. So that for the last shoot, she had to learn how to do head down. So like she knew how to be down, and then like the next step was like the head down. So now when she wants a treat, and I like start giving her the treat, she goes immediately with head down. So yeah, she was in. The last one was in Lowe's catalog, which is coming out in Christmas time sometime, so you might see her. So I don't go with her on those things. They usually don't want the winners there because it's too distracting, I think. All right, so I'm just like scoring where I'm going to put the eyes. Somebody was asking me about the eyes.
Yeah.
So basically, just put little blobs down like this.
Yeah.
You stand the tool that's nice and round.
What kind of glaze are we using to make them shiny?
Well, it depends. So most of them have no glaze on them. It's just salt. Wood and salt. Yeah, then now I use the end of this tool. Part of the reason also I don't bother too much with all the sculpting back here is most people don't. I mean, everybody kind of looks. Anything that has a base, you want to see the face of it. Like you're not going to put it on the shelf like this, or maybe like this if it has like a really good gesture or something. But
If you made fibers, do you think that you would need to only use cone-cut clay, or does it have, like, do you need high fire clay if you're gonna have something in the oven like that and actually use it?
I think if it's glazed inside and out, you can do cone sticks too. It's just hard to get like this kind of detail and different colors on it. I think you have to glazed inside and out to make it look safe. So like if you did like underglaze and clear glaze, I think you do different colors. It's just really, I can't even imagine how difficult it would be to do different colors of glaze and cone sticks. So when I glaze like all the little beads and stuff here, they have different glazes on them, right? So I use these little, in a Hobby Lobby painting section, you can get these little plastic bottles with like a metal nozzle, like really tiny thin metal nozzle. So I fill those up with glaze. Then I have like a precise tool to apply glaze to areas. So like, even for wood firing, this whole thing is glazed, right? You see all these different colors. So I would glaze this, wax it. Glaze this, wax this, and then dump into the main glaze. So it's a lot of tedious process that I don't really love doing, but to get all those different colors, you kind of have to. Like here, with these, I don't have to wax anything, right? Because I can just glaze all of this background as well, then I would do all of these colors, wax them, and then apply the glaze over it. So like you could do this, I guess, then wax the parts that you already glazed, and then dunk it in whatever glaze you want.
So you're kind of working front to back.
Or
Small, big.
front to back or back to front, whatever.
Yeah.
This is just going to be one of these bowling pin birds. Any more questions, anybody?
Is this a different clay that you're using on that particular one?
So this is the Hooky Weenie. It's just a darker clay body that Starworks has.
So are you mixing the two glaze to get a different effect, like on your stand, on the phone there, it looks like it's a different clay on the stand? Is that the one that you just did up there?
So this one is basically probably, you can see this kind of focus, right? This is just, happens this way, this underneath is my reclaim,
Okay.
and I just have to bring it over.
Yeah.
But there's enough starlights in the reclaim that it should be white. In this case, I had greater quantity of porcelain slip,
Okay.
so that's why you have dark gray, lighter. Yeah. And usually with the wood fire chalk, it's like, I don't place the stem because I want it to look a little different. But with, I do code 6 pumpkins also just to be able to make more of them. And those sometimes I will place the stem just in a different color. Because bare code 6 clay sometimes doesn't feel very good, so I have to go back and sand a lot to get it smooth. But yeah, with wood fire stuff too, like sanding, there's a lot of sanding that has to happen. Like every single piece gets sanded, not just the bottom, but all the surfaces basically that are not glazed.
When you do that sanding, do you use the diamond core pad or the sandpaper or?
I just usually use the 220 grit sandpaper and Dremel tool for the rubber parts.
And you're talking on your pistol. Same as pistol.
No, after wiring. I try to get things to where nothing has to be sanded in either green or bisque.
Okay.
Like you have to work clean enough to where there's no sanding required.
I like that.
It's, yeah, I mean, there was actually that one, because when I first started doing mission on porcelain, like I wanted the surface just to be just right. So I would do the drawing, and then when it was dry, but not bisque yet, I would put a little like sanding and and I mean, luscious, beautiful surfaces, but so much dust. So my wife is like, it's ridiculous. Like I'm spending so much time on it and breathing it in, and I can't sit there with a mask on for hours. So this, like, it could stay like this, and all the rest happens in the decorating. It got a little lopsided when I was traveling. Sometimes you can push it up, but it's not.
Is your basement studio a separate venting system from the rest of your house?
I only have ventilation for the kilns, so yeah, that's how like it goes out the wall of the house, and there's a door that sucks it out. But other than that, doors open, like I can open windows, there's no extra ventilation.
So it's not like attached to the same HVAC system or?
No, there's no like here or anything in the basement. So the cool thing about the basement, because it's underground, like it never gets too hot in the summer, like maybe 72, 3, like that. And then in the wintertime, it never freezes, so it's usually like 50, nice down there. I don't have to worry about like a lot of potters in Seabrook who have the mud floors and, you know, their clay can freeze if they don't keep the heat on overnight. I've never had issues with that. So, like with the dark clay, I would probably, when I go home, I would probably slip it, the porcelain slip, like either pour the slip in certain ways or don't get like neck high. And then I can go back and just carve all the drawings that I want in it, and then it goes in the disc. And then I do all the tedious glazing part. So for glazing, it usually takes me at least a week to glaze kiln mold stuff, like sometimes 8-hour days. So it's, yeah.
Do you ever put it in your wood kiln as freeware, like do one firing?
No, because then I would have to make a way longer fire, And also, my glazes are not formulated to work with greenware. So I love the idea of one firing, right? Even more economical. I wouldn't have to use the